Welcome back to SBJ Spotlight. The NCAA men's and women's basketball tournaments ended this week, and while they were successful in crowning champions, the questions and controversies of the last 3 weeks will complicate the legacy of this year's March Madness. We asked two longtime tournament observers, ESPN's Michelle Vopel and Rick Jones of Fishbait Solutions, what the long-term legacy may be from the tournaments and who are their winners and losers.
I wasn't really surprised that what happened because there is that power now of social media for good most of the time, sometimes for bad. But in this case, I think it was a spotlight on something that needed to be spotlighted. In terms of, is that part of the legacy? Absolutely. I think the other part is, does all this, all the furor, if you will, translate into actual actionable differences in the tournament, how the tournament's marketed, how it's, how they go about getting sponsors for the women's tournament, how it's talked about by the NCAA. I think those are the things we have to look at, because it's one thing, for the NCAA to have, meetings with the media and a lot of mea culpas, which they did. But then as the spotlight goes away because the tournaments are over, what happens now?
I think maybe some sponsors will say, maybe we need to do more to the women's championship. Maybe we need to make sure some more dollars are going in that direction. Maybe we can add more value. But I'd like to see, some specific sponsors that are maybe outside of the NCAA Corporate Partner and Champion program be able to fund women's basketball and bring them a better experience. Look, let's face it, men's basketball is the bank. It's the bank for everything. And so don't negate that. And so every other championship exists on the economic value of the men's tournament. But at the same time, let's be smart about finding ways that we show equality to all student athletes.
I think probably among the biggest winners, and I hope this continues, are the Black women in particular who spoke out. And it was so great to have two Black women for the first time in a women's Final Four with Dawn Staley and Adia Barnes. The game is so underrepresented in terms of opportunities for Black women, and that's only now starting to catch up.
I'm very proud of the coaches, both the men's and women's coaches, that navigated a ridiculous year. This was never in your job description. And to do that. And then the quality of play. If you watch the women's tournament, goodness gracious, every possession counted. And, with the exception of Baylor just hit on all four cylinders. Maybe the New Jersey Nets could have beat them. Beyond that, it's been a very competitive tournament, lots of upsets, all the things we love about March Madness, the drama, the underdogs, the unsung heroes on both the men's and women's side, I think it's been good. So I think the game won.
I think among the losers, you have to say the NCAA was a loser, because they were reactive through this whole thing. They weren't ahead of the story at any point. Every time there was an issue.
A couple of weeks ago on SBJ Spotlight, we talked about the NCAA's ability to do these tournaments and crown champions on April 4th and April 5th. They did so they deserve congratulations. I do believe the long-term legacy of this tournament will be far-reaching, specifically about inequities around men's and women's sports, and more pressure, I do believe, will be on Mark Emmert to get this right.